so many directions we can go this week with Joey. First of all, let me just ask you a basic one. How you doing, Joe?
You just called me Joe.
Yeah, Joe.
It was a little awkward, I'm not going to lie.
Joseph. J. Joseph.
No, nobody called. Okay, so here's the story. So I walked into Matt Millen's office the first time, right? And he just drafted me, and, Matt Millen is, hard ass kind of, just gruff and to the point.
Yeah.
And he sits down. He's like, I sit down. And he's like, all right, I got to get this out of the way. What's with the Joey? I was like, what do you mean? What's with the Joey? He's like, well, there's never been a good quarterback named Joey. It wasn't Joey Montana. It wasn't Joey Namath. It's like, I can't do it. I can't call you Joey. I was like, I don't know. Like, what do you expect me to do? That's my name. And he's like, well, what's your middle name? I was like, Joseph. He said, your name's Joey Joseph? I was like, no, my name is John Joseph. And he looked at me. He's like, John Joseph. I can call you that. All right, John Joseph. And to this day, Matt Millen calls me John Joseph.
Huh.
Cool.
That's what an odd stance for a coach to take. Like,
Well, he was the GM.
well, yeah, the GM, not the coach, but it's a very odd, it's an odd thing. You have something against the name Joey.
I like the name.
He wanted to call me Joe. I was like, you can call me whatever you want, but I'm not a Joe. That's just not me.
Did I read on the social media that you were at the Ducks Beavers game the other night?
I was. Yeah, I was.
How was that?
It was a good tilt.
It was. It's interesting. Two things, two takeaways. One, that is an incredibly athletic Oregon team.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shame what some of those injuries have done. I was talking with Casey Jacobson was calling the game, and I was chatting with him afterwards. He's like, there's no reason that Arizona and UCLA and Oregon every single year, they should be making the tournament. But two, this was the first time that I've seen, I'd been back to Matthew Knight in a while. And there were a couple games real early on where it was the newness factor and everybody was showing up. And then, then the attendance kind of fell. And, we're talking years ago. This was all, pre-COVID stuff. I was really happy to see the students showed up. It wasn't like rocking and going crazy, but they were all there. The student section behind the basket was all full. They tarped off a few seats up on the third level, but still, for a Wednesday night, 8 p.m. tip, it was a pretty good showing.
Okay. Well, I haven't ever been there, so.
Well, that's the last.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know I know football is going to continue. I don't know what the basketball situation was, but in theory, that could be the last Oregon State basketball game ever. I mean, have you seen anything if they're going to keep doing the other sports besides football?
That's a good point.
I hadn't thought about it. I know that they've extended at least for a couple years.
You can play non-con. I mean, they've got.
Yeah, I would assume that because it allows for that sort of thing, but I don't know. Honestly, it popped in my head. I'm like, I don't know if I've seen anything else about any other teams playing besides football. That's
an interesting point.
That place will be rocking when Perdon't comes to town next year. That'd be cool.
Well, I will say you're about to, you can say what you want about football. Basketball is about to get a lot more interesting.
I think that's a fair point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will be curious to see Oregon playing. Yeah, the Purdue's and the
Michigan, Ohio State,
Indiana, the Illinois. Yeah. See him. God. Where you think Gary Williams is? You think he could, coach Maryland, get them rolling again?
Gary Williams,
dude, that's a blast from the past.
Well, they're in the ACC though, aren't they?
Maryland? No, Maryland's in the Big Ten.
No, Maryland's in the Big Ten.
Well, they used to be in the ACC.
Yeah, they've been basketball. They joined the Big Ten when Rutgers joined the Big Ten. Hey, you get that hot? What was it? Mike Rice Jr. that was the coach at Rutgers that was hurling slurs and balls at everybody? Wasn't that at Rutgers? Where he got canned because he was caught on tape.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I think that was Mike Rice Jr. If I'm not mistaken, the Wild Ones kid.
I have a hot take, and you're not gonna like this.
Uh-oh.
Because
Don't go.
Well, you can't. I mean, Tinker Hatfield is wonderful. Oregon is wonderful. Everything's wonderful. Everything's great. Peaches, cream, roses, sunshine. However, is it time to change the court?
Somebody said that to me at the game.
The tall furs.
I can't do the court anymore.
You have like a seizure.
I just think they need a new court.
Yeah.
Why?
It's just...
I see where you're going with this, and follow me. You know, sometimes they come out with like a new car, and you're like, oh man, that's futuristic, and it looks very cutting edge. And then in about 4 or 5 years, it doesn't look cutting edge. It just looks bad. And at the time, it was unique, and it was different, and it stood out. And not everything that is cutting edge, it ages well. And I liked the court when it first came out. I thought it was unique and different, but I'm kind of with Rob. I think it's aged like bread, not wine.
Okay.
You don't like it either. I can tell in your voice.
Well, he doesn't want to criticize Tinker.
No.
Yeah, but he doesn't like it.
I think before I speak, unlike some, offensive linemen. So how would you then explain the NBA All-Star Game essentially having a giant Tinker Hatfield drawing on the court in an LED format during the entire thing? Like,
I would make the argument that that's an All-Star
of,
game in Vegas. It's not a Wednesday night against the Beavs in Eugene.
And it's a one-off.
Yeah.
Look,
so you're saying you don't mind the idea of court graphics, but you think that
it's a lot.
On a constant basis, that's just too much.
I only watch on TV, and every time I tune in, I'm like,
it's a lot.
It hurts.
It's a lot.
It hurts my rods and cones.
It's time for a redesign. That's all I'm saying.
That's it.
Like,
just redesign
it. You can
switch it up.
You can still do the tall fur thing, but maybe just have it at the ends of the it's time for a refresh.
I mean, Lord knows you got money. Come on.
Exactly. Like your guys' uniforms, like Oregon gets a lot of flack for the uniforms, and there's been different variations, but they keep going and it evolves and it gets better, and it changes, and I think it's time for the court to go by the way of some of the uniforms, and put the O on the back of the helmet and do the Omica. It's time to change.
To go from diamond plate to wings.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, I could buy that argument.
That's all.
I'm bagging what you're mowing. I got you.
You can still have it unique. I like that. You can still have it unique. You can still have it be very, Nike, Oregon, Tinker flavor. Just, maybe a little bit of a left here. Let's go down a different path.
All right. Well, we're all in agreement there.
Agreed.
All right. Do you believe in any conspiracy theories?
Ooh.
Specifically related to
any of them.
What?
Now, what I'm getting at here is the combine. All of a sudden, all these guys are whack jobs, and we've got one guy who doesn't believe in space, another guy who's
or planets, by the way.
Well, they're asking these guys all these weird questions. Like it's becoming bits now, where they're all getting up there and like, I don't believe in. So one guy, what was he saying? Like pigeon recharging stations, and he doesn't believe in birds.
I saw that.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Like the power lines are like the pigeon recharging stations because you never actually see baby pigeons.
Right. And the answer to that is very simple, and that is that baby pigeons don't leave the nest until they're adults. So that's why you don't see baby pigeons.
People don't want easy answers.
God.
People want wacko, out of the box thinking.
Were players this crazy when you were at the combine?
Well, it's just different crazy.
Oh.
It's like waking up at like 2 a.m. to swap your pee kind of crazy. Like that's the crazy that we dealt with, not like I don't actually believe in the solar system crazy. Like those are two different kinds of crazy.
Yeah.
It's a valid point. You can have lots of crazy.
What, swapping pee is a valid point?
Well, that too. I mean, I'm just saying, like, there's varying forms of crazy, and I'm with you. I played with my fair share of crazy and idiots, but I don't know if I ever had anyone that said that birds weren't real or that he didn't believe in planets. That's a bold statement.
I'm trying to think of the most off kilter, like. Give me until the next. I'm going to think through the commercial break once we get there about like the weirdest conspiracy theory that I ran across in the league.
It wasn't a conspiracy theory, but I do remember when I was at the combine. I believe it was Albert Hainsworth, the Tennessee defensive tackle, and we were sitting down doing one of like the aptitude tests, And it was a bunch of questions. It was like 100+ questions, and it was for the Giants.
No, there were not 100. There were 500.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
It was a 500 question psychological evaluation. Yeah. One of the questions being, do you enjoy beating animals? I will never forget that.
Oh, God.
Right? Do you get pleasure from beating animals?
I guess there are probably some guys that are like, hell yeah.
Who answers that, though? Even if you do enjoy beating animals,
no, I think there are guys that...
Enthusiastic, yes.
Well, you remember the Mike Vick thing? Mike Vick didn't even understand that was wrong.
I would assume, though, that you don't put that on the test. You lie about that, but...
Well, no, I don't think they understand. They're like, yeah, beat my dog all the time.
Go. But it was Albert Haynesworth, and we're in the middle of that, not even in the middle of it, like a few minutes in, and I was like... I just remember it being a slog, being like, what the hell is this thing? And Albert stands up, and there's like 15 of us taking this thing. And the little Giants thing, remember they gave you like a sweatshirt or whatever? They gave you like a swag. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I guess we're here. And Albert Ainsworth stands up and goes, wait a minute. Where the F are you guys drafting? And the Giants guy's like, I don't know, like 18? And he goes, man, F your test. I'm going to be here anyways. Crumples it up, throws it in the trash, and it's like, F you, I'm out of here, and just starts walking out. And I was like, holy crap, you can do that? And I thought like they were going to yell and whatever. They're like, no, Albert, here, they gave a bunch of Giant swag. They gave him like all this stuff. And Haynes was like, yeah, whatever. He took it and just walked out. And I was like, that guy's my hero. And then I sat down and completed the questions because shut up and take the test. But I'll never forget that. Wait. When you mother effers drafting? I'm not going to be there. F you.
They would not draft you if you didn't take that personality test.
Well, Albert didn't care.
Yeah.
And I think he did. I think he went like 12. No, he was a terrifying individual.
So Roma Dunze was asked if he could land a plane in an emergency. Oh. And rather refreshingly, he said, no chance. All souls perish.
I like that.
Could you land a plane in an emergency?
No, I mean, no.
You sure?
I'm trying to think, like, why would somebody think, I mean, you got like, you got the sticks, you got your little, your steering wheel thing. I mean, sure. Could you steer it? Like okay. So, another story. So we were on, this was after I was already done playing college football, and that was when it was during the NCAA basketball tournament. And Oregon was playing the Sweet 16 in Wisconsin, in Madison.
Okay.
And that was when I was doing we'd started the pit crew and wearing wigs and like all sorts of fun stuff to the games. So I'm full. There was a seat on a jet going back, and some alums, asked like, you want to fly back with us? And I was like, yeah, sure. I just have to be back at a certain time, if I got something going. And they're like, yeah, no problem. The jet is flying back, and so it can just take you back to Eugene. I was like, that's how this works? Like, okay, cool. So I flew with these people over to the game. We beat Texas, and then ended up to advance to play Kansas in the next round. So I'm flying back. It's just me and the pilots. And I'm just kind of sitting there, like twiddling my thumbs, like, holy cow, like what the hell is going on? Like, it's just me on this airplane. And so I kind of like walk up to the cockpit. I was like, hey guys, what's going on? Like, you want to talk to me? Like, hey, can we talk? Like, we're an hour and a half into this thing and I'm bored out of my mind. And he's like, yeah, we start chatting. And I was like, yeah, man, I've been really curious about flying a plane. And I'd love to get my pilot's license. He was like, oh, cool, sit down. I was like, sit down where? He's like, as he's standing up, this is the co-pilot. And he's like, stands up out of it. He's like, yeah, sit down. I was like, in the cockpit? Yeah, okay. So I, weasel my way in there. And he's like, oh yeah, it's all on autopilot anyway. So, the main pilot is sitting there. And so I'm, kind of weasel my way in and I'm looking at all these dials and it's like, your tilt and your angle and your all sorts of things and dials are spinning and numbers flashing. And the guy says, okay, now grab the sticks, and on your right thumb, you push that button and it'll take you off of autopilot. And I kind of looked over. I was like, we're at 42,000 feet. Mm. And so button click. I was like, all right. And sure enough, like the nose starts to fall down, and I'm like pointing down. I was like, oh, look, there's Billings, Montana. I was like, all right, now let's pull it back up, and okay, good. And now let's turn to the left. And so I'm like steering this thing like up and down and left and right. And they said, now if you take your thumb off the button, it'll just and so I took the thumb off the button, and it just like right back onto onto the whatever program they had it tracked on. So I could tilt the plane in the proper direction, but all those other things, like how the hell would you stop? Like
I think that's the biggest part, honestly, is the stopping. Flying's easy. Stopping?
Yeah, like,
well, hit the brake.
It's like driving a car. Just like twist to the right and twist to the left.
Pull the e-brake.
Yeah, and up and down. Like the other thing too is you don't tilt your car's nose down to the ground, right? That's the other directional thing. But like once you hit the ground, how do you stop?
Well, maybe you slide off the runway and.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. I think you just slow down and then roll out of the plane. Try to shoulder roll, bail on it.
Well, maybe somebody talks you through
the river. You just fly into Portland, and then you just like hit the runway, and then you just coast and make sure like your nose is up a little bit. So you pull a captain. What's the Yes,
yeah.
You pull a Sully
and
you drop it into the Columbia River, and that's how everybody survives. So yes, I could land a plane and survive, have the passenger survive.
Yeah, you could do it. I know it. I believe in you. You're the type. You're the Sully Sullenberger heroic type.